Alrighty, so as we are wrapping up the rear end and getting it in place, it's about time to need to drop this truck down. So we just went and picked up some wheels. So these are DIPs, 18-inch chromes, which will look good for when I have the truck in its patina form. Eventually we're gonna wanna go black, but I just got some okay tires, but the rims are in good condition. Paid 500 bucks for these. So here it is. I've got one kind of mocked up on the rear end here, set in place. Just with just one lug nut in here, and honestly, it might be a little too small for my liking. I was hoping to maybe, these are 18s, I was hoping to get 19s or 20s. Maybe I need a bigger tire on these just to, I mean, the truck's gonna be low, but that's not much lower than the rear end. So we'll see how that looks, but I mean, they look nice. And they will look nice when it's all put together, but so we're hopefully going to need to put all 4 of these on and drop it down to roll it out to clean the frame and whatnot. So picked up some tires. All right, so before we start mocking up suspension, like where our shocks are gonna go and our traction bars, I want to get the tank in here and mocked up because we're moving it to the back. So we got the tank. This is a 72 Ford Mustang tank, and it fits dang near perfectly in these rails. So in order to do this, we have to move this cross member back. Whatever that is has got to be removed as well, and then we can get it in here, and then we build a steel tubing frame that goes underneath the tank that mounts to the bottom of the frame. So let's work on getting this out. So it's riveted in through here. Basically, I'm gonna take this, and then there is 1 on the underside, 2 on the underside. So several rivets that we're gonna have to grind out. So we'll see how that goes. Holy crap. All right, so as you can see, there's these rivets here, and they just would not come out of there. So I got them to go through these holes, but they wouldn't push out that way. Oh gosh, I'm turning. Anyways, yeah, so you can see like that one's stuck in. So basically I had to use screwdriver, chisels went flying, but I had to like basically pry these out and then beat the crap out of it with, you know, the big hammer. Had to beat the crap out of it to get it knocked out of there, but we got it out of there. Don't recommend doing that. That was not fun. So this is gonna get relocated to somewhere back here so that our tank can fit in the frame rails. So I'm gonna clean all this up. I do believe that this is end up gonna get cut off anyway, so it got bent in the removal process, but it gets cut off anyway so that our tank can fit in here. So let's get the tank and mock it up and see how it's gonna fit. So, as you saw there, the tank is gonna actually go up underneath it, and it's gonna bolt to the bottom rails. The bottom rail will need to be trimmed up with this, because the tank fits in this portion, so we need to basically, I think it's about 2 inches, trim the bottom flange of the frame here, so that is the perfect width for the tank to fit up. So. So here is the mock-up of the tank in here. So as you see, we cut the bottom rails, and right now I just have it sitting on top of them. But the way it is going to be installed is we're going to make a 1x1 steel tubing frame that goes around this, and then drill holes through it. And then this flange is going to have, again, a 1x1 steel tube, but it's going to be on the other side of this So, and then it's going to be bolted up onto this frame here so that you can drop the tank just with some bolts. Because if you put it in like this, then to get the tank out, if you ever need to get it out, you got to take your bumper off and slide it out this way. Obviously, you're going to have your connections, but if you mount it to the bottom of the frame, you just take those bolts out, lower the tank out. So I think this is about where it's going to go. That should give us enough room for our shocks to go here. They might mount to the side of this frame and then go down with some custom made like posts like these. These are the factory ones. So we're probably gonna take something like that, put that over here. These boxing plates finally came in. Boxing plates and the these little notches for the C notches. I've been waiting for these to come in. This is kind of the next step. So we'll throw these in here, and then you basically cut out the profile of this C-notch in the boxing plate and this side of the frame, and those end up going right about there, which gives us, I don't know, an extra 2.5, 3 inches of suspension travel. So we need to get, I'm gonna throw this cover back on the rear end. I'll probably take this wheel off. We need to get the rear end out of the way so that I can begin welding in these C-notches. Okay, as you saw there in our last clip, the boxing plate goes in here, but to get it in the perfect position, it's got to overlap that shock mount. But I'm not using those, so those can come out, but they're riveted in, so that's going to be a whole nother process. So I got to get the grinder out, grind those rivets down, and knock them out to get these shock mounts off. So let's go ahead and get that going. Got this guy out. We'll go ahead and clean that up, probably cut that out. So we got that out. Now, we can mock in the plate. Just like that, the boxing plates are in. This is my first time really being out here like on my own welding. And these are just tacks obviously, but not terrible. That one I didn't have the gas on. I'm kind of blobbed up a little bit. But now we have to take these, and then obviously we're gonna have to find our center point. So we'll probably just lift this up, find our center point where these sit. Then we'll come in over like on the inside here. Let me come over on the inside and say our center point is that tack. We will outline this, which so it goes right here. We'll line it up and then we'll outline that. And then you take a Sawzall or an angle grinder and basically cut out this. And then this goes up in there on the frame, obviously, and gets welded in, and then you've essentially created your C-notch. You're gonna notch the frame. Okay, so we've got our boxing plates marked where the C-notch is going to be. before I cut this, I'm going to find a long piece of lumber here, and I'm going to just run it across the leaf springs here, and just to make sure. I mean, if you just look kind of down the barrel of it right now, looks pretty lined up. 37 might have been the right number, but 60 or 70, 69 and a half is what we ended up doing. So I'm gonna run a piece of wood across this, and let's see if it looks lined up. All right, so we're gonna run this in here, and then I'm gonna set it just on top of those perch bolts. And honestly, this is as close as it gets to a rear end. Top tier plays here. Grab the old perch. Bingo! So let me put you in kind of the view that I'm perceiving it right now, in which the line's a little bit behind what will be our axle. But I'm gonna say that's all right. It's not too bad. Let's look at the other side. I picked the wrong number. So again, that line on the left is our line. And again, I'm gonna try to set you up in the way that I'm seeing it, in which it's probably right about there. So a little bit behind, but I don't know, from up here it looks fine. So I'm not gonna nitpick that too much. Next step is going to be cutting that out. All right, we got all of our brackets welded together. These are gonna be for our traction bars and shock mounts. So we did a little bit of welding on those. We'll talk a little bit more about those later when we go to do suspension. The main thing that I needed to get done tonight was to actually cut out the C-notch in both sides. Got a little bit of weld, but the welder's acting up, so I'm gonna have to mess with that tomorrow probably. But we gotta weld these in. Then we can start throwing the rear end back in and mocking up our traction bars and our shock mounts. So made some good progress. This is the start of really getting this rear end back in and wrapped up. So it's dark out right now, as you can see. So we're gonna wrap this up and get back at it another day. So as you saw in that last clip, we've got the C-notches set in there. We're gonna have to get those welded in. So that's what we're getting ready to do. It's quite toasty out here today, so got me something to keep me cool. And we gotta get this welder running. So we're gonna weld those C-notches in and try to get the rear end set in there. Spared you guys hours of welding and fighting that thing and grinding, so did an okay. And again, this is my first time really welding anything, so I had a few good, where I was able to grind and get it pretty smooth. And then I need to grind on this a little bit more, and I'm just gonna leave all this as is. It sticks out a little bit, so I'm gonna try to 45 all that. But I've been grinding for a while today and I'm pretty tired of it, so I'm gonna drop these leaf springs. I've got one side already down, and I'm gonna get the rear end back up in here and just kind of get an idea of how these are sitting. And then our shock mounts I'm gonna drill a hole here, and they're gonna extend out of here. So that's gonna give me an idea where these are need to be, and where our lower rear end shock mounts need to go. So I'm gonna try to get this up in here and so we can get an idea where things are gonna sit. But boxing plates and the C-notch are welded in. Alright, check it out. Here we are. Looks thin enough to me. Should give us some extra clearance, so on to getting our shock set. Okay, so sorry about the fans here, but I've rigged this up to be right at the recommended install height, which is 12 inches eyelet to eyelet. So I've got it zip tied to hopefully hold it to about the length that it's going to be at install. So I think what's gonna end up happening here is I'm gonna take this top mount. I'm gonna probably place it somewhere around here, and this is gonna get it as high as possible and as far back as possible from this. And then, like right now, if I have it like this, it lands somewhere close. This is gonna have to shrink a little bit. Right now it's at 12.5 mounted length. It can probably go down to 12 and be fine. So I'm gonna mount this, place my shock in, and then wherever my bottom end of my shock ends up being, that's where this bracket is gonna go. So let's get these drilled and these mounted in. Okay, so I think this mock-up is gonna work. We've got our stud mounted up here, and then that gives us a good idea of where our bottom bracket is gonna need to be welded in. And again, this is probably gonna be more like that. It's about a 12-inch mount. So I need to pull these off and I need to finish. They're just tacked up right now, so I need to finish getting them welded up, clean them up, so that when we get to the rear end, cleaning the rear end up, they're good to paint basically. So let's get these finished up, and then I'm gonna give a little explanation of what these are. So I actually designed all these brackets using CAD, and then sent over these files to my boy Brandon at J5 Custom, and they've got a plasma cutter, and he cut out all of these profiles for me so that I can weld them in to give us our brackets. So designed the bottom shock bracket. We've got, these are gonna be for the traction bars. They're gonna sit approximately right in here underneath the frame for our traction bars that run up. These are for the traction bars on the front side. They're gonna be welded to the bottom of the frame. Our heim joints are going to mount, well, this one's actually gonna be a poly bushing. Poly bushing is going to mount in here for our track bars. So, designed these, they came out great. Can't wait to use them. And shout out to Brandon at J5 Custom for getting these cut out to me. That was a huge help. It's gonna save me a lot of money instead of spending $400 or $500 for a set of CalTrack bars or prefab traction bars. So that's what we got going on. We need to finish welding all these up. As you can see, they're just tacked in. So let's get that taken care of so that we can get them mounted in here. see I'm a very good welder here. No. So we got all these welded up. We're gonna be doing the grinder and paint will make you the welder you ain't method. So we're gonna be grinding a lot of this down. As you can see here, did that with this. Got this piece going a little bit. It's got a few holes that I'm gonna fill in these cracks here. And then again, I'm gonna grind all that down and paint them up, and you'll never know that I'm terrible at welding other than this evidence right here. But that'll be the next step on getting these in. Got all these cleaned up. Got this, well, also got that hole drilled for this shock mount. And I got this one at the right size, and I'm gonna basically set this up here and tack it in. That'll be one side. They're gonna have about 4 inches of travel on the shock. These are Speedway short shocks, so they're shorter obviously, and that's basically, I have to go with this to run the setup because my bed basically comes right here. So this is the best way to do it without having a tall C-notch with a bar up here and then having to raise the bed level with the bed. So we're gonna run it this way, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll come back and we'll figure something else out, but we're gonna do this for now. Alrighty, let's go. We got the shocks in. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to put the U-bolts back on and the bolts for the U-bolts, and we are gonna load the rear end. We got our leaf springs on, of course, and then our shocks are now in, and so now this, and then our C-notch as well. So this is going to, we're gonna load the rear end, and that's gonna give us an idea of what our suspension travel looks like with our C-notch, with our shocks. We're gonna see if the shocks are gonna bottom out. So yeah, we're gonna throw these U-bolts on and load this rear end. I'm excited to see how much clearance we end up having on our C-notch here. And then also I'm interested to see how these shocks are gonna work out. We just tacked the shock mounts in, so hopefully they are fine tacked in. So let's get this taken care of and load this baby down. Now, I'm gonna let this thing down. Okay, weight's on it. Oh my God. That made it way stiffer. Before we had these shocks in, my dad was bouncing on it, and there was quite a bit of play. That was unless, are we bottoming out of it? No, we are not. So with those in, we can kind of get a visualization of what we should expect the rear end to look like. I don't know, I'm debating if I'm gonna reinstall this cross member back here, or if I should move the tank back and install it right behind these shocks. Gonna have to debate that. I'm leaning towards next to the shocks just because I want more cross reinforcement here closer to the rear end than in the back. But other than that, it's nice to see the shocks in. The next step is going to be doing the traction bars. Once that's done, we are going to put the rest of the front end on to complete the suspension and drop this thing to the ground. Okay, so we got our DOM tubing for the traction bars, and we went ahead and popped out the bushings for our poly in-link bushings that's gonna be on the frame. So we notched the tubing with, got this tubing notcher here with a same diameter hole saw as what the tubing is, or as what the bushing housings are. So we went ahead, put that in the vise, put the tubing notcher in the vise, and cut out the ends of the tubing, and then we just tack welded the bushing housings onto there. So now these are gonna be a little bit over the length that we need. So we're gonna mount up our mounts, frame side mount for our track bars, and then basically we're gonna put the poly bushing in and get an idea for how long we need it to be, and we're gonna have to cut it. All right, so I just grounded down the paint here for when we weld, and I just pulled a line from the center, basically right in there. So pulled a line there, and then on my mount, ooh, it's still hot from grinding, I've got a line there, and we'll just line it up. Thing's still hot. I'm gonna grind this one down, clean it up, get it ready for welding, and hopefully by then, that one will be cooled off and we can tack it in. So we just got it headed up here with some magnets, centered up, and tack it in. All right, so we got these mounts tacked in on this side. Let's do the same on the other side. Then we can start seeing how long we're gonna need to cut those bars down to. All right, so we got the track bar in on this side. I didn't film much of it because I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. But we got just pretty much everything tacked in. And then, so we went ahead, put the bushing in on this side and held the tube up over here. Marked our line where our heim joint ended up being after tacking these in. So that's in. Now we've got to try to replicate it on the other side. All right, to best replicate this bar, we're going to just measure the length of it, copy that over here, cut it, and then to match the angle of these plates, which is about 74.5. So we're gonna mock up that side and then throw the angle finder on it so that it matches the other side and bolt them up. Already just like that. Traction bars, both sides are in. They are quite sturdy. So hopefully that keeps, obviously, our rear end from wanting to pick up the pinion. I think they did pretty good. Everything's just tacked in, as you can see, because all of this is gonna come out, A, to be fully welded in, and B, for paint. So, like I said, everything's tacked in, but I'm really liking the way that came out. So we'll see if everything holds up when we put some power to it. All right, so we got these painted up. I just went ahead and did a gloss black because we are going to need to install these and throw wheels on to get it on the ground to get an idea of what our ride height is gonna be. So I went ahead, just finished these off so that we can get them installed. right, as you can see there, we've got both sides, our upper low control arms with our coilovers in there, spindles. That's gonna have to do it for tonight. Tomorrow, hopefully we can get rotors and wheels and the rack in and maybe mock up the motor. So, see you then. So that is gonna wrap up this episode with the 51 Ford. We've got her on her feet again. We gave her some new knees, hips, and shoes, but she's on the ground looking good. So in the next episode, we are going to be working on mocking up the motor in the front end here, along with the transmission. And then we're gonna be wanting to wheel this outside to take the cab off. To get paint done on the frame. So all this is going to be getting taken apart. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit that like button so you guys can see when the next episodes are coming out. We're going to be working on this thing until she's done. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next episode.